How you guys doing? This is Jason with TunaTech, and today I've got something a little different, but something interesting nonetheless. Okay, so if you aren't a techie, or if you're a techie who lives under a rock, there's a company called Xiaomi. Okay, now Xiaomi released a flagship that's beyond all flagships. It's the 15 Ultra. That's not what I'm here to show you today, but this phone I am going to show you is technically by the same company. So what am I talking about? Talk about this, the Poco X7 Pro. So kind of like the opposite of the spectrum. So the 15 Ultra's got the maxed out cameras, maxed out processor, maxed out RAM and storage and all that good stuff. Whereas the Poco brand is like a subdivision of theirs that offers more of a budget friendly device, but offers a lot for the money. This retails for about $350 to $450 depending on your region and where you're going, and I'm talking in US dollars. So it's definitely a budget friendly device. So with that being said, what is this? Well, obviously you can see powered by the Xiaomi's OS, so that's good news. You'll get updates regularly. And then this is the Poco X7 Pro Yellow with 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. So that's a lot of storage for that price. And if you're a fan of what they do, Xiaomi, then you'll be very familiar with the OS. If you're not a big fan of the OS, you may not like this phone, but we'll get to that later. So what does it offer? So for that price, you get a Dimensity 8400. So I believe the current flagship for Dimensity, which is a MediaTek processor, is the 9400. So this is obviously a step back. I look at it as when Snapdragon had the 8 Gen 3, they had the 8 Gen 3S. It's like a slight downgrade. It's a 4 nanometer, it's not 3, but it's an octa-core. It's got a Mali GPU, typical of what MediaTek uses. And I'll be honest with you guys, MediaTek makes some pretty good processors, and I bet this 8400 is going to be no slouch, especially for this price range. And I believe a lot of these budget companies use MediaTek because obviously their quality has gone way up and their processors are very competitive in their class range. So these comes in a couple options. You can get 8 gigabyte with 256 gigabytes of storage, 12 to 256, or like this one, 12 gigs of 512. It's LPDDR5X plus UFS 4.0. All that means is it's got fast storage, and for the price, again, kind of surprising. But either way, Poco has always done a really good job of stuffing as much as they can into these phones and offering it at a really good price. Display is a 6.67 inch crystal res AMOLED display. It's a 2712 by 1220. It's a 1.5K resolution, so it's not quite your up the top of the range, but it's still pretty good. It's got a refresh rate of 120 hertz, so Apple can't say that even with their 16E. But it's got adaptive brightness. It gets up to a max of 3200 peak brightness, and that's pretty damn good. It does have Corning Gorilla Glass 7i. I'm not real familiar with what 7i is, but interestingly enough, it does have that. It does have 1920 hertz PWM for those sensitive to that. So again, Poco has a lot to offer. So on this spectrum, they gotta cut corners somewhere. So for the rear camera, they have a 50 megapixel main camera with OIS, f1.5, and does 4:1 bending like most sensors do. But after that, it goes to a 8 megapixel ultra wide, which, like I said, 8 megapixel ultra wide is kind of a no-go for a lot of people, but it's there. And then your front camera is 20 megapixel with an f2.2, and it does do 1080p at 30 frames, does not do 4K. So again, if you're a vlogging type, you want 4K, this isn't the phone for you. Battery wise, it's got a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. That's crazy, you guys. It'll last forever. 90 watt hypercharge with the charger in the box. As you see, you get the cable and the charger. Now this is a global version, European version, so that's why you have it. But if you're here in the US, you can buy adapters. They work just fine. And you guys, it does in-screen fingerprint sensor, AI face unlock, supports NFC, does dual SIM, all that stuff. Dolby Atmos playback. It's got everything you could possibly want, even an IR blaster, which again, in the US, we're kind of, you know, SOL on that. But so, like I said, this is the phone. We'll pull it off to the side. So as you can see, like I told you, in the box, pretty basic boxing, but you have a USB cable, and this is looks like a USB-C or USB-A to C. So you got that. And again, the budget phone, you guys, and the charger's included. Okay. What is Apple's budget phone again? The 16E? There's no charger in that. But there's some flagships, like the Xiaomi's 15 Ultra doesn't include a brick. So, you know, these companies kind of pick and choose, I guess. And inside, also, you get your typical books. And this is what I like, guys. This is what I love. You get a case. Now, it's a flimsy case, but it protects the phone nonetheless. And I go back to this every time I say it. A lot of these lower mid-range phones these companies make tons of them. So it's hard for manufacturers to keep up with the cases and if they're going to make money. So a lot of times the companies include it just because they know it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to find it. Especially here in the US, you're going to have to go to AliExpress, Temu, and all that stuff. But you also get your ejection tool. So if this is the case, this is the phone. So as you can see, you get a pre-installed screen protector. Get your 20 megapixel front camera. Nothing on this side. See there. On the top, your IR blaster. So it looks like some microphones and some other sensors on top. On the bottom, SIM tray, charging port, speaker grill. And this is what's interesting. This is the yellow version. So you got a power button here. It's a little accented with, so I can see that for you guys. A little bit of yellow accent, kind of cool. And on the back, let me get this little sticker off here. And on the back, look at this, you guys. Not only is there a gold outliner on each camera, which is a 50 and 8 megapixel, but you got this texture. It's hard to see. I'll try to make it sound here. Like, it feels like faux leather. Probably not as high quality as some more expensive phones, but it's got this like grippy feel. It's definitely not a thin phone, but a unique look and feel, and tactile feel in the hand. We'll just power it up to see if it has any juice. But like I said, guys, Poco has been around for a little while. I believe if you want to take a look back, I don't know for sure, one of my first unboxings was a Poco phone, and it got like 15,000 views, which I know is not a lot for bigger channels. But at the time, I had like 1 subscriber, so it must have been pretty popular. So Poco has a following, just like Xiaomi. They build this, you know, following that, and unfortunately, Xiaomi's more known across the pond, so to speak. You know, here in the US, most people, I guarantee most people don't even know who Xiaomi is here in the US. They don't even know who OnePlus is. So if you're watching this, you're probably a fan of these kind of phones. But if you look at it, looking at the bezels here, I'm looking at it straight on. It looks like pretty symmetrical top and bottom. It kind of looks like maybe a little bit bigger on the chin, but not too much. And the sides are obviously equal. But like I said, it's got their, you know, HyperOS, and it's going to go through and do setup. So what I'll do is I'll set up real quick and we'll get right back with you. All right, guys, so I got into the phone. Some interesting things. It's very iOS-esque, and that's what Xiaomi's always done. And this is my new, I haven't had a whole lot of experience with the Xiaomi's HyperOS, but just a side note, the fingerprint sensor, the fingerprint sensor into this is optical. It's not ultrasonic, but to this price point, kind of understand it. But this is HyperOS 2. So again, very similar to like what Samsung is doing now. One side is your quick toggles, the other side is your notifications. I just set it up, so there's a lot of stuff that's, you know, not quite there yet. But if you go to About Phone, there is an update, but it is based on Android 15. But there is an update which, you know, keeps, I'm not sure how long this will be updated for. I don't know the answers to that. So, but this is HyperOS 2.0 based on Android 15. Pretty basic, pretty quick. I mean, things are smooth. That's one thing Xiaomi's been really good at, is just their transitions from screen to screen. And Samsung's done better at this. Google's done better at this. Obviously, iPhone's been doing it for years. But as you can see, it's got full Google services. So This is the global version. So here in the US, if you want to use this phone, I don't have 100%, I'm 95% sure, but this will 95% work on T-Mobile, Google Fi, Metro, Mint, all based on T-Mobile or T-Mobile MVNO. It will not work on Verizon. Verizon does not use this, and AT&T more than likely will not work either. A couple things with AT&T and these global phones you import, most of the time you'll get no RCS communications and no phone calls. So you'll get data, but you won't be able to use RCS or phone calls. So obviously, what's the point of having a phone if you can't make a phone call? I know we don't always use phone calls nowadays, but it's nice to have that option. So just to keep that in mind, if you want to import something like this, it's around, like I said, $350 to $450, depending on where you go and what region you live in. But honestly, it's very smooth. One last thing I want to talk about, I know it's not too much in depth with this OS, but it comes with a lot of bloatware. Block Blaster, Block Puzzle, Bubble Shot Booking, Dust Settle. I mean, it's a lot of bloat that, LinkedIn, Jewel Blast, things that probably don't need to be on here, and it's got plenty of storage, so it's not a huge deal, but I'll definitely go through and delete the apps I don't want. They do give you that option. So let's say, for example, WPS Office, you can hold down and you can hit that and you can uninstall, and it kind of does that explosion. So I'll do it again. So kind of a unique thing, the Xiaomi, you hit delete, it says, do you want to uninstall? Now watch what happens to the app. Kind of like explodes like a firework. So interestingly enough, this is the Poco X7 Pro from Xiaomi. If you're interested in this, take a look. I'll leave a link in the description. This has been Jason with TunaTech. Thanks for watching. Peace.